I mean, if I'm playing you, I'm taking this serve and I'm just playing it right here. And I know there's going to be people that say, well, at the professional level, you can cover that ball with good footwork, so there's nothing wrong with this serve. But I really don't like it. It's making the game so difficult for you. And 90, maybe 95% of table tennis is the serve and the serve return. So if you're putting yourself at this much of a disadvantage on the serve, then the rest of the game is almost a moot point because this is such a glaring hole right now. So I'd really, really like to see this improved for the next match. And again, it's technically this is doable. I really don't like it. Like I know if I'm playing you, I'm gonna have a field day on this. I'm gonna play a ball here, and then you're gonna be thinking about this. I'm gonna play the next ball here. Then I'm gonna drop one really short, and you're just not gonna have a chance to react. Yeah, like it's just you're making it really, really difficult. Hey guys, what's going on? It's Louie here, and welcome to a brand new VOD review. Today we're going to be looking at a match from Flipson. This is his first submission. He uses the Dignix 09C 1.9 on the forehand, 05 hard 2.1 on the backhand. It's an interesting choice. Corbell SK7. Overall, solid setup, no complaints for me. It shouldn't hold you back in any way. Unrated, playing in Class 2 of the Swedish Amateur League, so probably under 1,000, give or take. Goals and context. I played table tennis for 2 to 3 years in a club when I was 10 years old. Since then, I haven't touched a racket, but I've played casually a few times a year. Now I've found some guys to play with, so I've picked it up again and have been playing consistently for the past 3 months. Goal is to climb the league, ultimately have a good finish in the yearly open tournament, which is in February. I'm also looking for a club to join and to obtain a rating by competing more. Strengths, been winning a lot of points on a spinny serve, which I have some variation. I also like to loop the ball, and if my opponent play long, I can normally place it well with good spin. I have trouble moving around the table and responding to spinny balls on my backhand side. I find myself being a bit stationary or passive, so that I have trouble getting proper spin into my shots. I tend to fumble the finisher shot when under pressure, like 3 times a week. We do serious training sessions where we play 2 hours after work, trying to improve our game. Each time we focus on a specific topic such as footwork, placement, service, and technique, and try to help each other. Really looking forward to getting an outside perspective on key parts of my game that I should work on improving, since I'm very motivated to get better. Also, sadly, I watched your video about selecting bat and rubbers way too late and ended up getting a racket that is way out of my league. Yeah, no, the equipment is fine. Let me show you something. So I'm pretty sure I recommend that specific blade in my equipment. Okay, I recommend the SK7 Classic. This blade is totally fine. Like, this is a solid blade. You're not going to have any issues with this blade. It's not going to hold you back. This is totally adequate as blades go. So you don't need to stress at all about this. You're going to be totally fine. Now, the rubbers, especially the backhand rubber, I'm not the biggest fan of 05 hard on the backhand. That's a very, very hard rubber. And so it's not the most optimal, but even this for now, at this kind of the amateur level, it's not going to be the difference between winning and losing. It's not going to hinder you from improving, so I wouldn't stress about this at all. The only thing I would say is when you go to change your rubbers in the future, to maybe just send me a message, reach out before you change, and maybe I can go with some better options for you. But the blade, I'd say if you enjoy it and it feels fine and it's not broken, then just stick with this blade, and it's totally adequate and it's not going to hold you back. But here's my game. Played the 19th of November, second strongest team in my skill class. The game was somewhat equal to begin with, but my opponent did a good job figuring out my weaknesses and playing shots short, forehand, and deep backhand, which I didn't manage to adapt to. Attacked pretty well. Okay, younger guy in black shirt with headband. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. Our protagonist is on the close side in the black with the headband. I've watched the first little bit just to get a feel for the match. So yeah, I'll point out things as I see them. And to everyone watching at home, enjoy the video. Forehand swing looks a little bit too big right off the bat. And footwork looks a little bit jumpy, not stable, but serve can probably be looped there. Same. That's just consistency. I'm not always the biggest fan of the backhand, especially. So doing a backhand serve from the forehand side like this can be done. Like, technically speaking, even up to a professional level, you will see this. But at an amateur level, I don't normally recommend it because it makes the footwork very, very, very difficult. You're serving from here, and then you have to have very, very precise footwork if you're ever going to come back and loop a ball that gets pushed to this corner. And then if the ball comes here, you're basically having to think about this side and then move back to this side. It just ends up with a lot of moving parts. Overall, like everywhere, there's a lot of moving parts that have to go right to successfully execute a serve and third ball attack with this type of serve. So I'm not always the biggest fan. So far it seems fine and the serve is spinny enough, but your footwork looks very jumpy. Like, there's a lot of hesitation. There's a lot of, instead of just one correct movement, you're doing a lot of micro adjustments. And I think it would be, I think it would be a little bit better with a more simple serve. Same spin, maybe same motion, but just not necessarily always from that corner. That's fine. Your swing's a little big on the loop. There's a lot of, it's kind of hard to see from the camera angle, but there's a lot of pushing. You didn't actually rotate the elbow at all, and you came across your body, which I don't know how intentional it was, but that's why your ball came down the line instead of going cross court, is there was no elbow rotation on the shot. But the idea was right. The idea was fine. That serve also needs to be looped. Good back in though. I didn't look at the elbow. Let me just see if there was rotation. That was better. The rotation was better there. You just weren't ready to play more. Yeah, too much arm. Too much arm. Too much pushing. Look at your motion here. Look at the elbow. Elbow is extending, and then elbow is kind of flailing out, and your paddle is finishing right here on the back end. And so the ball's coming flying. And then the other side effect, you missed the forehand before, is because your paddle's here. If he moves and plays a good block cross court, there's no chance you're recovering and getting to that ball. So it needs to be just a little bit more compact. But again, the idea is okay. Like, could you have also played a forehand there? Yeah, but I have no complaints with going for that shot. That's fine. But look how many moving parts you needed to play that forehand. Like, look how. No, it's fine. It was just it's very, very difficult with that serve. Yeah, the shot's a little bit too big, but it's not bad. Damn, the serve needs to be hit. So it's tough, but even at this level, which I wouldn't say this is like complete beginner level, this is early intermediate level, when your opponent, and all the way up even to an advanced level, you'll always have people that just serve long, or even when they try to serve short, the ball will come long, and you have to get in the habit of just trying to hit these balls, because pushing a long serve is inherently going to put you at a disadvantage for the whole point. So I would rather, because you haven't even tried to attack a single one, I would rather you try to attack one of these serves and miss than just go for the pushes and give up control of the point. Yeah, too big on the forehand. And again, look at how difficult you're making this for yourself. So you're all the way on the forehand side from the backhand. And so because of that, right after the serve, you have to move to your left to cover the backhand corner. So you're moving to the left, still moving to the left. And then, oh crap, it's actually a forehand. Now you've got to stop. Now you've got to move back this way. And you didn't even have time to move, which is why you missed the shot. It's just a lot of moving parts, and you have to watch like a hawk if you're gonna be serving from here. And if you don't, it's just an extremely difficult serve to play off of. Yeah, same. Like you're scurrying to cover the corner after the serve. Look at this. You're like, oh crap, oh crap. You're scurrying to that corner. And again, it's without even watching. So if the ball comes to the forehand, you basically have to do this and then this, and it's just very, very difficult. Right idea. That's fine. A little bit too far back. You can play that shot much, much closer to the table. But that's fine. Yeah. This like kind of scurrying. It's like panic after the serve. Again, just look. You serve, then you're like panicking to cover this corner. And so if the ball comes right to this corner, you're probably going to be fine. Even if he pushes your serve, you're in trouble because of this kind of panicked, jumpy footwork. I'm going to keep watching because I think there's quite a lot to unpack here. But firstly, I'm going to be giving you some footwork drills just to get the footwork more stable. But I also will recommend a little bit more variation in where you serve from, because this is really difficult. And look, even there, I don't even know if you would have covered the back end in time. You're scurrying as if you're going to be late for this ball. And I don't know. Oops, I lost where it was, but it looked like you were in trouble on that shot. Yeah, here it looked like you were in trouble because you were thinking forehand. Like it's too hard. So you got a game point. Yeah, same thing. Serve needs to be hit. Yeah, I mean that's not bad. It's really not bad. It's losing a point like that is never fun, but that's actually an okay way to lose the point. Yeah, same mistake. The first one he did at 10-9. I'd give you a pass because maybe it caught you by surprise, but the second that happens, especially at this point in the game, you have to make a mental note of that. And okay, you lose a point here, but you should be absolutely sitting on the forehand right here. It was the last serve he did. It gave you problems. He tips it off. You should just be sitting on this ball, and then it should be just a stable loop. But anyway, that's fine. Not bad overall. Yeah, same. As you're playing games, you have to take a note of where he is winning points, and he has won 3 points in a row on his serving long to the forehand, where you've pushed a backhand and missed the push. So you have to make an adjustment at that point. My recommendation is to try and play a forehand loop, but you don't have to. I mean, there's other shots you can play. You could try playing a forehand push. You could try changing the way you approach the backhand push. You could try just kind of doing a fade shot on the forehand, but you have to try something because he's won 3 points outright on his serve in a row to the same spot. And he's going back there again. There we go. And you finally play a forehand. And that was better. The reason you missed the loop there is because you didn't finish your form. You're actually very good here. This is fine. Contact is a little bit late, but really it's not too bad. But you stop right here. And really you need to be by your left eyebrow when you finish. So kind of where I drew at the furthest, but kind of this general area when you finish the shot. Yeah, same. I mean, if I'm playing you, I'm taking this serve and I'm just playing it right here. And I know there's going to be people that say, well, at the professional level, you can cover that ball with good footwork, so there's nothing wrong with this serve. But I really don't like it. It's making the game so difficult for you. And 90, maybe 95% of table tennis is the serve and the serve return. So if you're putting yourself at this much of a disadvantage on the serve, then the rest of the game is almost a moot point because this is such a glaring hole right now. So I'd really, really like to see this improved for the next match. And again, it's technically this is doable. I really don't like it. Like I know if I'm playing you, I'm gonna have a field day on this. I'm gonna play a ball here, and then you're gonna be thinking about this. So I'm gonna play the next ball here. Then I'm gonna drop one really short, and you're just not gonna have a chance to react. Yeah, like it's just you're making it really, really difficult. Better. That was a better miss than your last forehand. You finished your. Whoop, what did I just do? Your racket's a little open, but I mean, really, it's fine. You finish your form a little bit more, but the way I describe it is your backswing. If you're ever gonna make your swing bigger, or you ever need more swing to get the ball over the net, or more swing to generate more spin, you never want more backswing and less follow through. You want less backswing and more follow through. As counterintuitive as that sounds, it's the easier way to find the ball and the easier way to be recovered for wherever the ball is going. So this is a little bit better. You just needed like half an inch more rotation. Like really don't be afraid to finish your form, and that ball doesn't miss in the net. But not bad overall. That's a good miss. Better. That's fine. This is just something that comes with experience. You're going for the really, really wide angle here to win the point because you recognize that he's way out of position. You played a great shot. The push was great. It really brought him out of position. So you're like, oh, okay, I can play right here and win the point. But as you get experience, you'll realize you really could win the point just pushing right here. You don't need such an extreme angle when your opponent's already super far out of position. You just need it on the table, far away from where the opponent is playing. If he wasn't super far out of position, maybe the super wide angle is more valid. And it's, again, I talk about the wide angles all the time, but here, really all you need is on the table somewhere in this area, and you'll win the point, or he'll probably give you a high ball. But you go for the extreme angle, and it's very high risk, low reward. Good serve. Yeah, same. The forehand technique needs some work. Like, in terms of the consistency. Like, sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't. Here's one where you don't, and the footwork is also very late. But here, you stop by your right eyebrow, and then the paddle comes up instead of, again, finishing more in this spot. And again, your paddle's kind of at this 90-degree angle. It should be more so at like a 45-degree angle when you finish the shot. But other than that, the footwork's just a little bit late, which, again, comes with training and experience. It's a better serve. And you're way more comfortable looping there because of that. Too much pushing. It's fine, though. Yeah, still too much pushing. It's basically a 50-50. When you turn it into this pushing war, it's just a pure 50-50. Someone is eventually going to miss, so you want to try and do something to win the point. And this is another mental lapse here. So if we go back to, I think it was this serve. It's one of these. Yeah, it was this serve. Or no, it wasn't this serve. It was the one at 1-6. But both of these serves really. You served more from the middle of the table, and you got a very, very comfortable forehand loop, and you won the point. So we continue. You're back to serving at 3-7, and now you've gone back to serving at this corner. Why? You just won a point serving from here. You have no proof that he is going to adapt to that or do anything to give you trouble yet. So why go back to this serve? Why not just keep serving from right here and get the easy forehand? But now, again, you've made it way too difficult for yourself, and then you miss the serve, which it happens. But again, like, why are you serving from here now? You have to, especially when you've won 3 points, What did you do to win those 3 points? What has he done to win his points? How can you adapt? But yeah, again, too many pushes. Nice. Yeah, just go for it. That's a mental mistake as well. Again, that's the same serve that he always does, especially close to the end of the game. The long backhand serve to your forehand, and you had basically picked it up to where you were playing with the forehand, and then I think this is just a mental lapse where you go back to this chicken wing backhand and you miss. Look at that. Okay, you didn't win the point, but that was the best opportunity you had. Again, serving from the middle. You don't have to scurry to cover your backhand, and you're so stable. And look, you even finish at the right point on this forehand. It's not perfect. It's a little, or it's quite a bit too big, but this is at least a lot better. And you finished your form, and it was stable, and you had such a good opportunity. So, game 3 now, you should really, really be using that serve more. All right, on to game 3. Let's keep watching. Too flat, too flat. Just need to be relaxed on the shot. Nice and fluid, smooth motion there. I think you just got a little bit too excited, but it's okay. That's fine. That's very good. I don't know. It's almost like mentally you've decided what shot you're going to play before you have found the ball. So it's like here, you decided I'm going to play a backhand flick or a backhand loop no matter what. And so the ball comes wide to the forehand and you're set up for a backhand flip, and then you just try to play the backhand flip here instead, and it just... And again, the shot itself is quite large. But I think you just need to watch a little bit more and be a little bit more mindful of kind of what's going on situationally. But this is a problem with tactics here. You're standing in the middle of the table. You take this ball and you play it deep into the corner. If you catch your opponent by surprise in the corner, the most probable response is that they will play cross court. So the second that you play this ball into the corner, as you do, you have to be ready for this ball. But you're not expecting it, and so you're very, very late getting back to this. But this is the most common, normal, expected shot. It's not like he played a great shot here. You just have to know that if you're going to play deep into this corner, the ball is going to come back cross court, which it does. And then you just weren't ready for it. Again, I don't know why you're serving from here when you're having so much success serving from the middle. Again, I wish you were hitting some of the serves, or at least trying to. Because, I mean, you know how to loop. You've looped on your forehand. You've looped on your backhand. So it's the same thing against the serve. You just have to go for it. Same thing. Too flat. Too flat on the forehand. I think the 0-5 hard might be hindering your backhand a little bit. Which, I mean, it's fine for now. But you're like... The backhands look very panicky. Like, very... It's a very, very large swing most of the time on your backhand, but you, like, right here, it's very flaily with the arm. Like, your arm is kind of flailing around on the shot instead of being sharp. There's a lot of elbow movement. And, like, the arm is flailing in a circle instead of having this sharp, crisp motion. And it's really... There's no power to show for it. It's just a lot of movement that's making you... slow to recover, so we definitely need to work on that. But again, a lot of this is just coming down to serve and serve return. 99%, 95% of this is serve returns, and then the rallies, I mean, You're not winning all of them, but you're holding your own for the most part. It's just kind of getting into the right spot. Yeah. Serve itself is good. It's spinny. Okay, let me go type up your notes and I will be back. Alright, I have got your notes typed up and I will share this file with you so you have access to it. I do have quite a few notes, but I think all of this will be helpful, so I do apologize for the pretty lengthy list. But firstly, I am not a big fan of you doing this backhand serve all the way on the forehand side. I'd love to see you do it more from the middle of the table or even from the backhand side. Keep all the spin. The spin is fantastic, and I think you'll have a lot more success being stable on those opening attacks. I also want you to try and focus on recognizing what you did specifically on the points where you were successful so you can continue exploiting whatever it is you were doing. Similarly, you want to try and keep in mind where your opponent has been generating points so you can come up with plans to mitigate that. So as an example, when you adjusted your serve, you started doing it from the middle, suddenly you had a fantastic opportunity to comfortably loop your forehand, but you didn't recognize it, and so you went back to serving from the forehand corner and you gave up your advantage. Your backhand in general, whether it's on the loop or just on the drives, like in the backhand to backhand, has a lot of unnecessary shoulder, just arm movement. So this is something we really need to hone and practice. The shoulder should be completely still, or as still as possible, and you need to be using the elbow as the pivot point. If you've ever thrown a frisbee, the motion for the backhand should be like throwing a frisbee. And then on your forehand, I also want you to sharpen the technique a little bit. So try to keep where you finish consistent. Use your left eyebrow as a gauge, but really try to finish your form. If you're going to make your swing bigger, make it bigger in the follow through, not in the backswing. Smaller note, but don't be afraid to attack the long serves. You pushed every single one of them. If you miss, you miss, but you know how to loop, so I think you're at a point where you can start going for this. And then lastly, I just have some general footwork drills you can do that will help. I want you to do all of these. I know you mentioned you have quite a long practice frequency, which is why you could just do like 20 minutes each. So every time you do one of these drills, this is important. You don't want to just do a drill for 3 minutes, switch, do another drill for 3 minutes, and so on. Spend a good 20, more if you need it, but spend a lot of time on these drills one at a time. If you don't have time to get to all of them in one practice session, then don't. But spend a good amount of time doing all of these. But I'm going to open up Paint so I can kind of explain what these are. So the first is one middle, one backhand, one middle, one forehand. This is a really, really good drill for keeping your shots compact. I didn't give you any random drills just yet, because I don't think you're quite ready for that yet. But let's draw a table here. So one middle, one backhand, one middle, one forehand. The way this works, you are always playing. If you're looping to a righty, you're playing right here. If you're looping to a lefty, then you would do everything right here. But they're gonna give you 1, 2, 3, and then 4, but not super wide. The fourth ball is here. The second ball is here, and then the first balls are like in the middle here. So you play forehand, backhand, forehand, 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 backhand, forehand, 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 backhand, forehand, forehand. So this middle ball, you always play a forehand. This ball, you always play a backhand. This ball, you also always play a forehand. And this will get you comfortable transitioning between the backhand and the forehand fluidly. It'll keep your motion sharp. It's a relatively simple drill. Like, the footwork is not too hard, but it's really, really good. And as you get better at this stuff, I'll give you more advanced drills to go along with this. But next one I want you to do is X's and H's. I don't want you to do this looping just yet. You can have one, you can kind of loop. You can do like a very small loop, but I don't want you to do this full speed. and you need a pretty good practice partner, someone who can be very stable. But as the name implies, one person is going to play X's and one person is going to play H's. You can either both drive, or you can have one person drive and one person block and just switch who's driving and who's blocking and who's doing what. But as the name implies, one person plays an X, so you play your forehand cross court, they play down the line, you play your backhand cross court, they play down the line. So one person is playing an H, the other person is playing an X. And this is just another good drill to help with the footwork, going right to left, being nice and stable, and transitioning between the backhand and forehand. As you do this, you want to make sure that you're doing one good movement between the forehand and backhand. You shouldn't be doing 2 steps. You shouldn't be doing 5 micro steps. You shouldn't be doing 1 big step and then a micro adjustment. You should have very, very stable but quick footwork between the backhand and forehand, regardless if you're doing X's or H's on this. So that's the second drill. Next one is 2 backhand, 2 forehand. This one is pretty simple. So just 2, 2. You play everything to a righty's backhand, or if they're a lefty, you would play everything right here. Next, these ones are more match type of drills, so I don't really need the diagram, but you play 1 forehand loop against underspin. They're always playing their backhand. You're always looping to your practice partner's backhand anytime you do a drill. But you loop forehand against underspin, they block to your forehand, and then you play a forehand only point, looping everything. So basically you're working on the transition between looping a ball against underspin, they block, and then looping the next ball against topspin, which you have to be more compact on and go more forwards, because if you lift up on the ball that has topspin, it's going to miss out. And sorry, I skipped this one. This one, you're going to loop a forehand against underspin, they're going to block to your backhand, and then you're just going to go backhand to backhand, so you can hone the technique and focus on keeping the elbow stable. And then you can do both of these the same way, but start with a backhand loop as well. So again, take this slowly, so just spend a lot of time on each of these individually, and it should really help you kind of iron out these issues. But overall, there's a lot of good with your game. You're spinny, you have good movement, you're athletic, so you should be able to continue improving pretty quickly. But that's going to do it for this match review. I hope that was helpful, and to everyone watching at home, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you did enjoy, then make sure to leave it a big thumbs up. I have quite a long queue right now for my match reviews. So to anybody that is in the queue, I normally do like 1 per week. So by the time I'm getting to these, it'll be probably a couple months. So if you end up getting a more recent match before I get to your submission, then you are more than welcome to swap out your match for a more recent video, and I'll be happy to still take a look at it. But again, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time.